Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast. Dave, we've stabilised. We had a little rest, figured out what the hell to do. You're okay. I'm okay. You're not a scientist. I'm not a scientist. So we're not going to be talking about viruses or
Things we don't really understand. To be fair, yeah.
absences of football. But you're well. I'm well. Everyone in the
Mhm.
pod team is well, and
Yeah,
we
family good, family's good. So yeah,
and
yours
we
too.
we hope all the listeners
Yep.
are okay. There's just been lots of announcements about monetary assistance and things, so we hope everybody's okay. But we're not here to talk about the virus. Go and watch the news if you want that. What we've been fed back by our listeners, Dave, is that they want to talk a bit of football,
You
and
want
we
some
were
content?
we were going to do this at the end of the season, Dave, but who knows what the hell's going to happen? So we are going back, you and I, in our little
Woohoo!
time machine. We're going to go back 20.
88. Oh no, 20 years.
We're going back. You can do that next year. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, mate. All right, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're going to
yeah.
go back 20 years, and we're going to review the 99 2000 season. A great season, Dave. Let's go to August the 1st, 99. When You Say Nothing at All by Ronan Keating has just
Oh,
knocked
yeah.
Living
Live
La
La
Vida
Vida.
Loca by Ricky
Oh
Martin.
man, look
What
at
does what
that.
does
Both.
life look like for you in 1999?
Okay, were you with us then or not? No,
About
we're
a
probably
year
a
or
year
two. I'm
later.
I'm only
So
17 at this point.
no, so you're
16
not.
in August the 1st, even.
So where was I? 99. Yeah, I was working, as you know, then for Allianz, which you joined. So I was just about working for Allianz then in Ipswich. Crikey. So and this is great 'cause there's a couple of referral points in here. Jordan, my eldest, was uh 8-7, so it'd been 8 in the December, and Kieran was just 1. And then now,
Wow.
obviously, 22 and 28. No,
And
21. Sorry, shouldn't have been.
and
21 and 28. Madness, absolute crazy.
the context of the football club is that they're bridesmaids under George Burley, three straight playoff defeats,
Yeah.
twice on goal difference. But and
Heartbreak.
I must
Heartbreak.
draw everyone's attention, Dave, to a zonal marking podcast recently about the away goals rule and whether it's fair or not. But David Sheepshanks has now deemed that it is not fair for the team advantaged by finishing higher up the table to be given 30 minutes less time than the team that finished lower to score away goals. So
Quite right,
not
David. What
not
a
going to
man.
happen again. But Dave, a sense that things are building under George Burley, a bit closer every time, but the crown jewels have been sold.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what you're referring to there, Kieran Dyer went in the close season for what was reported 6 million around about that, and obviously for once, with a slant on what's going on at the club now, it was sort of pretty much reinvested over that summer.
Well, why don't we go, Dave, to August the 7th, and you can tell us about some of these new players.
Yep.
Safe to say that Joe Fairs has joked a lot about Guinevere, but we were
Yep.
rather surprised when we piped up at Portman Road
Yep.
to see. We finished the season last year with a 4-4-2 and Kieran Dyer down the right, Bobby Pettit
Yep.
down the left, Holland,
Yep.
Magilton,
Yeah. Yeah.
Scowcroft, Johnson,
Mm.
etc., etc. But we're going to turn up, and George Burley is going to work a 3-5-2, and he's going to stick with it all season.
Yeah.
Here's your team, Dave. Talk to me about the team,
Yep.
the surprise of one particular player's position, and the new arrival. So it was Richard Wright in goal,
Yep.
Venus, Thetis, and McGreal
Hmm.
are the three centre halves. McGreal new.
Yep.
Mick Stockwell is the right wing back with Fabian Wilness on the bench. Jamie Clapham down the left. Holland right. Scowcroft. Magilton starts the season injured. I believe he's going to be back in a couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
I think so. Yeah.
The big one there is James Scowcroft has moved into a midfield position. Richard Naylor, who'd been a perennial reserve, is going to partner really the star player now. Dyer's gone. David Johnson
Yeah.
up front. So give me your thoughts on the new arrivals and that surprise of, because I saw Scowcroft there and I'm like, what's he doing? He's a big target man. He cannot play
Yeah.
there.
I mean, the new arrival there was obviously with John McGreal. Two, sorry, Jermaine Wright as well. John McGreal ultimately turns out absolute thoroughbred of a footballer. What a player! Not the biggest, but could play.
He's been at Tranmere, what, 10 years at this
Yeah,
point, Dave?
long time. Did he not score a own goal like a season or two before to actually for us to win I think a cup third round game against the town. I believe someone will them for that. But I
Oh
think
yes,
I got
they
that
will.
wrong. Oh yeah, I've probably got that totally wrong. Sure. Anyway, yeah, a thoroughbred of a footballer. Great in possession, lovely delivery of the ball. Delivered a great ball. I always say made great shape, but what a lovely play. And Jermaine Wright just slotted in pretty much
Dave,
from day one.
it's going to take Town fans a while to get Jermaine right. He's a player's
I
player, isn't
think
he?
so. Yeah, I play as player, but I thought all through that season, I rated him very, very high. And he's playing, Scowcroft and with that withdrawn role, which, as you say, was quite a surprise there. But to be honest, he just took like it, what's the old saying? Duck to water, really. Outstanding football, absolutely outstanding. With that withdrawn role, the diagonal goal kicks from right, he would win those. Great touch for a big man. Just really worked, from what you see from this game, from game one, it was just obviously the right way to go with that seemingly that three at the back, that three at the back scenario.
And Dave, it looks like Burley's looked at what's happened against Howard Kendall and against Alan Kirbishley, and he always had a team that could play. But now this is looking like a powerful team as well, with solid players. I mean, Thetis is going to be the story of the first couple of months, but people like McGreal and Venus, Scowcroft with that extra height, and Naylor.
Nasty, loved him absolutely. Yeah, his foot in, just absolute powerhouse of a player. Yeah, you're right. Looking at that lineup, obviously Midtjylland would obviously, as soon as
Matt Holland as well, a tough player.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just compare it. I know you can't, but compare it with not perhaps so much now, but in recent.
But the types of player, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So it seems like he spent the summer trying to address we're good, but we're a soft touch, and off they go, Dave, against David Platt's Forest, and just sweeps them away.
Platt, my God, I forgot that. David Platt, of course. My God, yeah. When you newly relegated, of course.
Dave, when you look at who he worked under, David Platt should have been one of the greatest, with Graham Taylor and Sven and whoever else in Italy, and then Arsene Wenger and Robson for England. Yeah, should have been a better manager. So off we go, and just a very attacking team, 3-1 in that game. Lots of goal threat. Johnson and I think, did Johnson, Naylor and Scowcroft all score in that one?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Naylor got a header, I think. Scowcroft, I remember, was quite a nice goal. Did Clapham? Well, I saw this. I did YouTube it the other night. Clapham comes in on his right foot, drills a pass into Scowcroft, little reverse ball with Johnson, plays him in, and he just strokes it. Mark Crossley was in goal, just strokes it in. Just class, so easy, absolutely. Yeah, just what a great start to the season. That just gave you the you never know, fairly new, obviously a new formation against a relegated side. You never quite know, but you think, okay, this is perhaps this looks a part of game.
Dave,
and just a little again with another link, Chris Bart-Williams with a late penalty for
yes, and I was going to say this is the theme. Lots of goal scoring, lots of chances, but Manu Thetis conceding a penalty. We'll move on. We're going to go to the 11th of August, and there's going to be lots of little anecdotes here, Dave. The night before this game, I played five-a-side at Chantry, okay? I kicked the ball on the roof. I climbed up on the roof to get the ball, jumped off the roof and broke my foot, yeah?
What?
And still walked down to get the coach to go to Brentford the next day.
Absolute hardcore, mate. Absolute hardcore.
And there was some kind of lunar eclipse or something that day, I remember.
You're right. I mean, and always what I remember about this game, it was on Sky. It was really? The League Cup day. Yeah, it was on
Dave,
Sky.
You forget, watching that blue heaven, you forget, I know he's a bit of a joke now, what a good summariser Alan Brazil was. I know he's a bit biased.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Yeah. And I think you'll find that Brazil was actually summarising right the way, spoiler alert, right the way through to the very last game of the season, I believe.
Lovely stuff. So, it's Brentford 0, Ipswich 2 in the League Cup. And a first look for George Burley at one Icelandic centre-half in the Brentford team as well.
Very much so. So, just getting back to that, what do you remember that day about the Brentford goalkeeper, Andy Woodman? Other than his very, very poor.
He was dreadful, wasn't he? He was out of position for the first goal and leaves a player on the line for the second goal.
Here's the thing. One of the best football books I have ever read is this book. Okay.
So if you're listening on the podcast, Dave's holding up Woody and Nord, and it's a foreword by Gareth Southgate, the England manager, does it say?
Okay, so Woody was Andy Woodman, who was a Crystal Palace apprentice, and this is where it's going. His best pal and his long life pal in football was Gareth Southgate. So this is it's forward by Gareth Southgate, but it's written by both of them. Absolutely brilliant book, and it basically explains how these careers just took off in different directions. So Andy Woodman's highlight was playing in
You play for Northampton, Dave.
Played for Northampton, played for Oxford, played for Col U. His highlight was in an EFL final, a playoff final, I think for Northampton at Wembley. He saved a penalty. And this book takes you through completely their different polar opposite careers in football, right to when Gareth Southgate basically provides him with players' lounge passes during Euro '96. He's there with Gareth Southgate's family, watching him stride up to take the penalty against Germany. It is absolute class.
Wow.
Best bit, he goes over in St Etienne when we draw the game with Argentina, the Michael Owen goal. His pre-season training starts the very next day. Brilliant story. And he says, the lads are all jealous. Gareth gave me his shorts and I turned up for pre-season training, got a late night flight, turned back for pre-season training with the grass from St Etienne still on Gareth's shorts, as he threw himself about in pre-season. It is an absolute... I recommend that book. It's about, 15 years old now, but yeah, class book.
But sadly,
class.
Dave, Woodman in this game, more Gareth Keenan than Gareth Southgate. I'm afraid. So Ipswich win this leg 2-0, and they go off to Swindon, and this is on a Sunday. I've got to do another anecdote, Dave, because I was working at the Belsterbrook Hotel, and they booked me in to work the breakfast shift on Sunday, and I was damn well not going to go and work the breakfast shift on Sunday because I'm going to go to Swindon and watch Ipswich.
And I've got a feeling this was a lunchtime kickoff.
Right, so
I think it was.
I left my coat in the cupboard at the hotel, right, and I scrubbed off my shift, but then embarrassingly I had to sneak into the hotel, and the woman Shirley saw me going in, and she's like, "Oh, Ben, you are here, thank God." I just ran straight out and went off to Swindon.
Was that your very last shift at the Belsterbrook or not?
No, I was there another couple of years. Don't worry.
I thought so. Yeah, because you were, because it was get on the bus, get off the bus. That was a couple of years later, wasn't it?
Oh no, that was a few years before.
Oh no, it was way
before.
No, of course it was.
So if we go to Swindon, and it's a massacre here. I think Swindon are going to end up relegated, but it's a 4-1 win. Ipswich go behind, but it's totally against the run of play. And 2 goals for Johnson, 2 goals for Naylor, and you played 3 games, Dave, and they're blowing teams away.
Yeah, no, superb. I mean, look, we're a league game, so it's only 2 league games, and Johnson and Naylor have got 3 each. I mean, yeah, you're on your way, aren't you? You really are.
Off we go next week, and big game here. This is the immediate rematch. It's funny, all the playoff teams come up in the first 10 or 12 games of the season. It's the rematch against Bolton, so big grudge match with, I suppose it would have been Colin Todd the previous season, wouldn't it? Is Big Sam in there now, or was he there? Or
I think he probably is, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't.
Start of the season.
I don't know. I don't recall. I think maybe he came in during the season. But big grudge match, Dave. It's going to be one of 8 games between the 2 teams over those 2 seasons, and a bit of absolute brilliance by David Johnson to win.
What I remember about
match.
This game, what I can recall about this game, I think we absolutely batter them. We absolutely batter them, and it looks like. I mean, it's quite late on. I think Johnson. Hang on, I've got it. 80. Let's have a look. I've got the old. I think 69 minutes. But I seem to think we're well on top of this game, and it's just a ridiculous goal, isn't it? It's a long hoof clearance, I think, from Clapham. And Johnson, he's got no right. I think does he beats Whitlow? I think
Whitlow,
halfway.
Who's taller than him.
Yeah,
well, everyone's taller than Jono, isn't they?
Flicks it on and just runs at pace at Franson. Sort of sells him a dummy. He basically buys it and then he just rolls it. Absolute class goal, wasn't it? Absolutely brilliant. And it just summed up his start to the season. He was on fire.
On absolute fire. And so Ipswich, on they go again. This is the day after my 17th birthday, 5th successive victory to beat Brentford and progress in the League Cup. And we go to the weekend, and I must call out a friend of mine, Bryn, who fell asleep during this game because we've been to a nightclub the night before.
What, in Sheffield or in Ipswich?
In the game. Oh no, in Ipswich.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's another playoff foe, Dave. It's the first points dropped. It's 2-2 at Sheffield United. Town go 2 up.
2 up quite early, aren't we?
Yeah, in the first 11 minutes. Blades. It's one of those, Dave. I remember it well, where from half time, they just went for it, and it was almost
Yeah.
like it would have been an easier game if we were 1-0 up than being
Yeah,
2-0 up.
right. Just right sort of makes a really good sort of pinpoint save, I want to say, and the ball just breaks. I think I can't remember who break, but
Smith
I know
and Marcello
someone
were the
just
scorers,
smashes it in the smashes it back in the top corner. So yeah, that was certainly, on the face of it, 2 points dropped, wasn't it? You almost score 2 in 11 minutes. It sounds ridiculous, but it's almost too early, isn't it?
Yeah. Jim Magilton makes his first start of the season. Wilness in over Stockwell. It's going to take a few months, but we're getting towards what we know is going to be a great
Yeah.
team for the next 12, 18 months or so.
Yeah, absolutely.
First points drop, but then we go to what I presume is the bank holiday Monday.
It is. Yeah, it is.
And we don't know what's going to happen to Barnsley by the end of this season, but we're going to beat them 6-1 here.
Absolutely
3-0 up at half time.
Again, all I can remember about this game, Johnson perhaps should have scored a hat-trick. He doesn't, but he gets another goal where he sort of like walks around the defence and passes it in the net again.
Yeah, and you don't see that with strikers very often now, prepared to just run at defenders, and such a threat, and scored so many goals. Just take it. I'm sure if we watched back games, he would have given just complete. And if you go back on the channel, we did a 2-hour interview with Jono, and he was very modest about his abilities. He said,
I met him. He's a lovely guy.
He said,
really
my job was to play with a big striker and run behind. He's selling himself a little bit.
You know what? We should have perhaps touched on that. The very first goal was or second goal was the one at home to Forest was a classic when the ball's paid off to Scowcroft. Scowcroft just knocks it down. He just doesn't break stride. Just absolutely lashes it in, doesn't he, from about on the edge of the box, and that sort of summed up that big man, little man combination, really.
Well, and Dave, with Scowcroft in as a midfielder now, the worry of Naylor's power, Scowcroft from the deeper position, and Johnson's pace, that idea of getting three of them on and supplying them, and as we've said as well, Burley's tried to create a team that can not only play but that can look after themselves and have
I think
well.
You're right. I think perhaps certainly you remember the first game, certainly against Charlton. A couple of seasons before we bullied out of it, weren't we? Absolutely bullied out of it.
Mills and Youds and Kinsella
nasty,
and
nasty. This team, you look at that team, that wouldn't have been bullied out of that. No way. No.
So Townend the month, absolutely brilliant. One of the best months of the seasons, in fact. 6 wins in 7. Johnson, 8 goals in 7 games. There's a bit of a subplot that Burley's not happy with Manuel Thetis. Wayne Brown's mobilising, and Tony Mowbray's, he's a coach. He's on the bench. But he did finish the Sheffield United game as a substitute. Some sense. Brilliant start. The table has Ipswich top of the league, and well, here they are already. Manchester City in second place.
Jesus, look at Birmingham. Bloody hell.
Birmingham joint in second. Birmingham, we're gonna come on to them soon, and we're gonna come on to Manchester City because it's really going to be the story of the season. And if you are a young listener, this is a very different Manchester City than you might know now. Let's just say.
Try and name that team. Yeah.
Dave, 11th of September. I presume we've had an international break. Off we go to Portsmouth, and I've got to tell another story because I'm studying piano at this point. And
I love your stories.
I'm at Pompey. I think I'm on the second row behind the goal. Richard Wright comes out of the tunnel, and as football players do, he walks out of the tunnel and he just boots a football. So I'm watching this football. Over it comes. It's coming right towards me. It takes a bounce. Richard Wright's got a good kick as well with that left foot. Bounces up, it's coming right to me. I extend my hands to catch the ball. Some idiot from behind me leans over, knocks my hand, ball hits my finger straight on. So within the first 7 games of the season, broken foot and broken finger.
Oh, broken finger, seriously?
I had to strap the two together, and I couldn't play piano. There we go. Wow. Dave, first sense here that the ride and the momentum from August is going to drop off a little bit. 1-1 draw and a red card for John McGreal.
Yeah, well, we showed good character there because we're down to 10, 1-1 draw, but it's a very late. I remember this. I wasn't there, but it's a very late equaliser from Scowcroft.
Suspect defending from Mr. Jason Cundy, I think.
I think you're probably right from what I remember about it. But yeah, so showed, at least, yes, okay, you lose, but it did show, showed some character there.
On the 14th of September, we've got to talk about Crewe, because Crewe, for a while, were an absolute nuisance. And you need to understand, if you weren't there at the time, Crewe compared to Ipswich was small fry. It was a small club punching above
Yeah,
their weight. But Dave, there'd been that infamous game at the end of the previous season where Crewe had come to Portman Road, and I think Steve McCauley had scored a late
done as an
a
absolute.
late winner.
Yeah,
So
cost us promotion, didn't it?
a lot of people were scared of Crewe, and we're
Yeah.
going to get the first defeat of the season in the League Cup
And
here.
obviously, and don't forget, I think Jermaine Wright even might have scored in that previous game as well. The previous season.
Do you know who played in that game? Danny Murphy, on loan from Liverpool.
Wow. In fact, I'm going to look at Jermaine Wright. Go on then. I might have got that wrong, but anyway, go on. Yeah. Danny Murphy, seriously.
Yeah. They had him on loan for the end of that season and had a relegation purge, and then he went on to presumably win the European Cup and things of that nature. Yeah. So we go down 2-1 there again. Crewe, quite the menace. But the bigger game is, as you mentioned, Birmingham at the top of the league. And it's a first league defeat of the season here, 1-0 at home to
Now, I've got a bit
Birmingham.
of an anecdote. I've got a bit of a non-football anecdote for this one. So this Jordan, my eldest, who you know is he's still quite a decent golfer, qualified back then for the national national age group short course championship. So it's like not sort of mini golf, but yeah. So the golf holes would have been. So he's 8 at the time. So the golf holes would have been up to like 120, 130 yards. Anyway, he tips up his very first tournament. I take him down. You might even know this. It's in Gunnersbury Park near Chiswick.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Gunnersbury Park near Chiswick. Anyway, he turns up for this, and there's this talk of this local boy from who's really supposed to be shit hot.
He's going to be a very famous golfer, isn't it?
So anyway, Jordan plays really well in this. In his under, I think he's like in his under 10s category, so playing a bit above himself. Finishes third, so does really well. Plays really well. Finishes third. So you got to say that I think the par for this 9-hole course is obviously 9-3, 27. And so if I said Jordan did really well, finished like, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 over par for his age, brilliant. This one kid that won it finished like level par, we were at 8, and it was, this might not mean anything to you, but those golfers out there, it was one Tyrrell Hatton, who won the very last tournament that was played in America 2 weeks ago on the PGA Tour to the tune of, I think, $1.4 million, and he has played in the Ryder Cup. So we didn't make it back for this game. The other thing I noticed about this game, Ben, was the referee.
Well, I did make a note that for the second time this season, Manuel Fetters is going to take out one Stan Lazaridis, an Australian winger, good player, good left winger. And Barry Knight is going to give the first of probably 4 penalties at Portman Road this season. But
he loved giving pens at Portman Road.
Dave, it's lovely looking back with hindsight, all these little subplots like you mentioned, Chris Buck-Williams and Barry Knight. But Thetis, the mistake, hooked at half-time. Wayne Brown comes in. George Burley not happy with the defence. I do have to say, this Birmingham team, and Mick Mills was working for Trevor Francis at the time, was very defensive and kind of functional, and they came and did a job. They were not.
Gary Rowett, look at that.
With bleach blonde hair as well. Gary Rowett, John McCarthy, Paul Furlong, Darren Purse, David Holdsworth.
Is that Peter and Love?
Oh, really? Yeah. So some big players and some quick players. But first defeat, and George Burley goes to the transfer market. Dave, talk to me about Gary Croft, who arrives from Blackburn, very versatile player.
Very versatile. England under 20, was it sort of been 21 then, or certainly England under 23? So young England honours, as they would say back then. And versatile player, could play right or left. And you look at that, you think, okay, good signing. So Stockwell's obviously ageing. Obviously Wilness is there. But
he's still got doubts about Wilness though at this point, hasn't he? George?
Yeah. I mean, look, Wilness then progressed on and on, didn't he? But I think he didn't really trust Wilness. So I saw that as I think back at the time, you think, this seems decent signing. As you say, versatile.
In Wilness's defence,
good cover for Clapham. On the other side, who was virtually never present all season, wasn't he? Class player.
In Wilness's defence, he took a while to settle. He's only arrived in the January beforehand, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So here we go back, and the David Nugent of this time, we're going to the midweek second leg, and this was incredible, this guy, because I think we can all accept that Nugent was a level above Ipswich have been for scoring all those goals past us. But this guy
was just... This was
Mark Rivers
weird.
just had a thing about scoring against us, and in a very similar to Nugent way. You can see the look on his face as he
Yeah.
keeps doing it. How
I
do
know.
I keep scoring in this goal?
I
But
think
it's
the winner here is a terrible pass. I forget. It's
Clapham
someone
gives it
loses
away,
but
and
yeah, it's
yeah.
terrible. Someone loses. Good ball in, and he sort of just walks
But
around
Dave,
and
this
kicks the
was a
plus in.
classic Burley Ipswich game of dominating it. Their keeper Jason Kitten, who was a Kiwi or
Yeah.
an Aussie, was he? I remember
Yeah,
from Everton.
played at Everton, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
has a great game, and Scowcroft and
Southall's understudy, I think.
oh, there you go.
Sorry,
So yeah,
I
good
think.
teacher.
Yeah.
And Crewe sneaking, but Dave, not the worst thing in the world to be out of the League Cup, but no wins in 4, and the
Yeah.
momentum has gone now, hasn't it?
Yeah. No, definitely.
On we go for a very big game, 26th of September. Gary Croft is going to make his debut. It's Ipswich versus Manchester City, and Dave, spoiler alert, this is going to be the real narrative of the whole season, is Ipswich versus Manchester City. Managed by Joe Royle, who we know firsthand to be a great manager. But talk to me about the job that Joe Royle did here, because I was at Joe Royle's first game managing Manchester City when Ipswich went there 1-2-1. Kieran Dyer scored in the last minute. They went on to be relegated.
Yeah.
He
So
then
that was.
took them back up, and believe me, this is not a team full of star players. He's got Dickov and Gota up front, who were just incredible. Mark Kennedy, another subplot there down the left wing. Terry Cook, Ian Bishop and Kevin Horlock in midfield. Richard Wright's rival as young goalkeeper is Nicky Weaver. And then just old school, Spencer Pryor, Richard Jobson, Jared Weekins, Andy Morrison. Talk to me about Man City at this time and what a job Joe Royle did.
I think it was, and I think that's sort of symptomatic with Joe Royle. I think players wanted to play for him. He had that sort of aura about him, and the pull he had with players, and okay, perhaps with it, with us. With under Royle, you'd have to score, always concede 2 or 3, but you'd score 4. So again, that was very much his mantra. I mean, and a very experienced core to the side, as you said. Then likes of Spencer Pryor and Morrison. I mean, for those younger listeners, I mean, well, look at it. They'd only just been promoted, only just been relegated. He got them up.
By the skin of their teeth,
miles, absolutely light years away from what you have now. It's just, and do you know what? And I don't know many. I know 1 or 2 Man City fans. I think they still run into really deep down hanker for those days. The old main road and everything that went with it. And don't hold with the corporate. Yeah, okay, of course they've had the great success, but just don't hold with the the corporate beast that it is now, sort of thing.
But really key battle here, and Ipswich get the win. Johnson scores a great header.
Oh, it's Wilness assist, isn't it? I think it's a Wilness
lovely
assist.
Flat cross as well. I mean,
that's again silly. That's perhaps one of my favourite goals. Just the way what I remember about that, the way the ball comes in, he holds himself, doesn't he? He just hangs in the air, gets enough power on it. Well, even makes a really good attempt to save it.
Remember the whole time, Dave, I'm taller than David Johnson.
He's tiny.
Yeah,
what a spring he had.
What
Absolutely
a great
brilliant
player he was. And what Joe Royle did have, Dave, was Sean Gota.
And he was fed. I think that could have been. Was that Kennedy who crossed that ball?
Dickov.
Oh, sorry. Of course, it's Dickov. Yeah, that's a great finish. Like swept in it first time.
Sean Gota in that division with Joe Royle as his manager is it's going to work. But with a very, very lucky goal, Ipswich get the win, and it's Gary Croft, Dave.
Very reminiscent, this goal, and I watched this back the other night. This goal, very reminiscent. I will get 80-81 of an equaliser that Franz Tyson scored against Forest, the cup quarter final with Shilton in goal. Takes a massive deflection, exactly the same goal actually, massive deflection, and we get away. We get away with it again. We've been pegged back to 1-1. I think we're leading for a reasonable part of the game. Get pegged back to 1-1, and again show good character to go on and win it. Yeah.
But Dave, not for the first time this season. George is going to sign somebody, and they're going to disappear fairly quickly after they've been signed, because Gary Croft was driving his car in Ipswich and he shouldn't have been.
Alleged motoring offence. No, not alleged.
Not alleged.
Sorry,
a matter of public record. This one.
I'm so used to saying. Motoring offences, and before you know it,
I think the statute of limitations has expired on this one. Don't worry.
Absolutely. And before you know it, he's basically banged up.
Incredible scenes. Driving whilst disqualified.
Yeah, good God. I mean,
national news, and then he's going to come back and play with a curfew tag on his ankle.
Swindon and little Jordan, we used to hang around afterwards. He loved to get autographs and that, and we got his autograph, and you could still see we could still see the bulge under his sock.
That's what she said. End
Yeah,
of September, Dave. Birmingham City now top of the league, 2 points per game. Ipswich with a game in hand, 1 point behind. But here come Charlton with a game in hand on Ipswich, 1 point behind. Manchester City tucked in there as well. We're starting to see the cast of characters. We're just
yeah.
missing Dave Bassett at the moment, but don't worry, he'll be along fairly soon.
Yeah. What a start Birmingham had. Obviously they won. They beat us, but Christ, I just overlooked that. Yeah.
Into October, Dave, and off to Grimsby, which has been over the years not a good
Again.
place. Yeah,
No.
not a good place. And it's a defeat here. Donovan scores. Jim Magilton scores a great free kick, but a terrible mistake. Again, the individual mistakes are creeping in by John McGreal, who plays a blind back pass, and Lee Ashcroft.
Yeah.
Scores. Another bogey team, Dave. 7 without a win against these opponents. Quick story as well. There's a guy a few seats away. I was at this game again. I was at most of these games.
Fair Bloody hell, we haven't missed yet, have you?
Gets kicked out of the stadium for flicking the V. So he's travelled all the way up. He's given it the big one, and one of the stewards comes and takes him out. I always remember that, thinking, God, if you'd driven all the way up to Grimsby.
So was this a Blundell Park then?
Blundell Park, yeah.
I went to the game.
Steve Cabber.
Yeah, which was obviously by then was in Cleethorpes.
That's the end of this whole story, Dave.
I know
that
it.
Game.
I know it. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, not a good, but not a good run. Some individual mistakes coming into the team, and a bit of a tipping point here as we go to QPR at home, 16th of October. Yeah. Town take the lead early. But Gavin Peacock, I remember scoring a very similar goal for Newcastle in the same goal. Possibly
3-2 game, was that the promotion season?
Yeah, possibly.
It was, yeah.
And then Jim Magilton, great player, but always had a bit of a temper, didn't he?
Red Mist basically starts kicking the crap out of Peacock, doesn't he?
He
literally.
does.
It's one of those ones where the ball gets stuck. And he sort of, instead of sticking his foot in, he is trying to get that ball out and ends up, it was a
Dave,
nailed on.
Have I pulled this out of my arse? Is Gavin Peacock like a full-time proper minister now?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
In the States somewhere?
Oh, I don't know where. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Look that one up.
I think the man of the cloth. I think he is. You're right.
But still, Dave, 1-1 in the game. Terrible back pass by Manu Theti.
Another name, Ben. I remember this game. Again, what the hell happened to him? Rob Steiner.
Well, he's going to score 2 goals in. I don't know who scored. Did he score the? I don't. Kiwomya set it up, I think.
Okay.
Possibly.
Yeah. I know he scored. I think he scores a couple. He's won. I think the last goal, when everyone's just out on their feet, he sort of like walks it in, doesn't he? I think he turns. Is it McGreal inside out and just
I just
strokes
remember,
it?
Dave, I had a season ticket in Churchman's. I remember when the red card came out, I watched Jim walk off, and I could see Jerry Francis making this gesture at the time, as if to say, keep the ball and spread it as wide as you can. You're playing against 3 centre-halves and a tight midfield. And so back-to-back defeats here, Dave. Lots of individual mistakes coming in. George is not happy with the defence. So what's he going to do, Dave, for the Charlton game?
Big tone. Mogga drafts in Mogga. I mean, that's just amazing, isn't it? Absolutely, almost out of nowhere. Although you said he was on the bench, yeah?
So he'd been on the bench. He did come on at Sheffield United and got minutes in that
and
game.
I think also this game, I remember Stockwell came back into it as well. So a bit of experience there.
Yeah, he's brought his experienced players back in. Again, we've already had games against Sheffield United and Bolton. This is a 98 playoff conquerors, I believe. So they've been up, down, then they're now about to go back up
I think so.
again. They're in 6th at this point, Dave, but from Boxing Day they're going to embark on an astonishing 12-game club record, 12 in a row winning streak to just blow the whole division
Absolute
away.
Madness.
But
where the hell did that? Yeah,
like the Man City game, Ipswich are gonna get the win, and a big turning point with Mowbray 35 and a coach coming back into the team.
Yeah, it's just it was experience. It was totally the experience. I mean, McGreal was obviously quite experienced, but McGreal was quite, obviously a new player to the club. So, and Mowbray hadn't been at the club years, but just that, that whole experience pro, good talker as well, good organizer. Just you could see it. It ran through the team from then, I think. I remember what I do remember about this game. Great goal. I think it might have been the fourth one. We went one up, didn't we? Then I think Andy Hunt may have got two.
Yeah, he's going to get 24.
He was quite prolific. Yeah, he was
season,
prolific, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, I think could have been the last goal. Absolutely brilliant goal from Stockwell. Comes in off the right and just sort of bends it in with his left. Absolute class goal. Yeah.
So yeah, big win.
It's
showing they can do it, and a bit of a turning point with Mowbray back in the team, and it looks like Thetis is now. Not necessarily bombed out, because we are going to have to see him several times again before the end of the season.
He didn't play much. I mean, I looked at his stats. I think he played 15 games all season, so he was virtually never present at the start. So I reckon he must have played maybe the first 7, 8, 9, 10 games even. So he figured, but not that much.
Off we go to Walsall, Dave. And I don't know whether Jimmy Walker was in goal for this one, but we huff and we puff. And Richard Naylor eventually scores a stoppage time winner, and I got in a fight, Dave. You're
a lover, Ben. You're a lover, not a fighter. What's going on?
Well, there was a guy about 3 seats down from me giving Naylor pelters all game. So me and Chris, who we mentioned, whose brother was very sadly killed recently, we spoke about on the show. Chris and I decided to give the cup deer to this guy as Naylor scores, and of course you can imagine the embarrassment for him. So then he goes for us, and we're actually having a fight as the goal is being celebrated. We made it up afterwards, but I never celebrated that goal because we just wanted to give it to this guy who'd been giving it to Naylor.
Remember the goal, good goal, yeah, and it was again character there, last minute goal, yeah.
After this game, David Johnson commits his international future to Craigie Brown's Scotland, despite being ineligible to play for them.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long that lasted for. Can you remember how long that lasted? I don't know. It seems like a matter of days. I don't know. I remember Craig Brown's interview saying it's not every day that we can, call upon a striker like David Johnson's class.
I did ask him about it, Dave, and he swept it under the carpet.
Oh yeah, you won't know about that.
Fairly quickly. And off we go to an incredible game, really, away at Manchester City. For some reason, the fixture computer has turned around the 2 games against Manchester City very early. It's a midweek. It's under the lights.
Don't we batter them?
Main Road, and Dave, we absolutely batter them. But
we hit the bar, hit the post, don't we? A couple of times. And
Nicky Weaver's incredible. And one Jonas Axeldal comes off the bench, and his XG for this game is probably about 2.5, but he can't beat Nicky Weaver in this game. Kevin Horlock, another future town player, gets the goal, and
really
not getting an equaliser in this game, Dave, is going to take on quite some significance when we get to the end of this tale, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, so much so that we're going into the next game, which we actually do bury our hoodoo. But I was just looking at the table at the end of October. Let's get with the next game, Grimsby, yeah?
Yeah, just quickly, have you got any Main Road memories for me? Because that's probably my favourite away ground I think I've ever been to.
No, not really. I never went to Main Road. Never got to Main Road, unfortunately. I remember back in the when I first started watching back in the 70s under the Robson era and perhaps the 80s. Always fairly even Steven at Main Road. I remember round about Robson's early years getting tanked about 4-0 there one game, but no, other than that, when the team started to develop under Robson, I think we had win one, lose one. Yeah, I think we had a fairly half decent record at Man City. Yeah,
magical stadium though.
I've seen it, been past it, like Platt Lane and played. Yeah, I've been past it, but it's in Moss Side, but yeah, never went there, unfortunately.
So as you said, the hoodoo against Grimsby is going to be buried. 2-0 win there. I must just say, I wasn't at this game. I was at Arsenal versus Newcastle. It was 0-0. Bobby Robson was managing Newcastle. My aunt married an Arsenal fan. They divorced not long after, but I was taken to my first trip to
Okay.
Highbury, where
Highbury.
where I'd return the next season to actually see Ipswich win, incredibly,
Yeah, Christ.
in the
Yeah,
League
yeah,
Cup, and I got in a
yeah.
lot of trouble for celebrating the goal in the home stand.
Yeah,
As
fortunately,
you
I
can
didn't make
see,
the League Cup game. I made the defeat, but anyway, yeah.
I was a bit of a dick when I was 17, judging by a lot of these.
I think I must have first met you 2 years later. Yeah, you were still pretty much a dick then, but yeah,
That's
perhaps not quite
tremendous.
so. Perhaps not quite so
Um,
much.
Dave, James Scowcroft's going to get injured, and really, right now through the end of the season, George is going to have real trouble either getting a front three or his first choice three centre halves
Yeah,
on the pitch. And really, I think this is going to do for us, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I think it does. I think it does ultimately. But I say we actually bury a bit of a hoodoo. We go on to beat Grimsby, don't we? And then I'm just looking at the table at the end of October, and again, Man City are like 6 points clear all of a sudden.
Six clear with games more. So Man City are on 32 points. So that was a big defeat there. It's a typical Joe Royal team, Dave. They'll lose 4 games, but they'll win 7. They won't draw any, will they? You know.
No.
Charlton are coming up on the rails. Ipswich still in second place, but Charlton with a game in hand. 14 played. Ipswich just under the 2 points per game you'd normally need to go up. We're going to go off to Huddersfield, Dave, and they're up in the top 6 here. And the biggest subplot of all subplots of the actual key to the whole thing is going to manifest itself during this game. So we're going to lose 3-1 at Huddersfield, and they're going to go third. They've got Steve Bruce managing them, and a rather excellent striker called Clyde Weinhardt, who also plays up front with a guy called Marcus Stewart, who's going to mug off the Ipswich defence with a beautiful touch and finish for the third goal, Dave. 6 defeat in 11 in all comps.
Yeah.
George came face to face with Herman earlier in the season. How significant is this Marcus Stewart goal?
Well, I think so. I think so. I mean, the goal itself is just class because it's all a bit crazy and very, again, when you think about it, quite similar to the calmness and the ice cool finisher. So it showed through really, didn't it? So the ball was sort of bounced around the penalty area, and he just sort of takes it and I think he sort of chips it over. I don't know, one of the centre. I can't remember. Might have even been McGreal. Just takes a touch and just rolls it in. It's an absolute class finish. And I think obviously everyone knows about Stewart. Certainly Stewart and Weinhardt. And I'd say at the time probably Stewart was probably the lesser of the two. You know, Clyde Weinhardt was quite a big name. Yeah, you'd think that had some influence on what happens, 2 or 3 months further down the line.
If we go to Blackburn on November the 6th, Ipswich concede after, I think, 13 seconds in this one. Lee Carsley sticking a long, scoring from a long throw-in.
Wow, okay.
Then...
it helps. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, there's a penalty. I forget who scores the penalty for Blackburn. Ashley Ward, possibly. I can't remember. So Town are 2 down with 75 on the clock. And Dave, this is actually quite the pivotal.
Carsley takes the
fight
pen.
back.
Carsley,
okay.
Race.
Because this is actually the start of a very, very, very long unbeaten run. But it starts with a Matt Holland thunder bastard, and then Tony Mowbray with a half volley into the top corner.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Do you believe in these narratives when an unbeaten run starts with a last-minute goal from you?
Oh, well, well, there you go. Yeah, you need something. If you've been in a little bit of a rut, you need something to just drag yourself out. I mean, that just came out of nowhere, didn't it? It's absolute bullet finish in the top corner, wasn't it?
Must just
incredible.
add Mark Venus misses a penalty as well 5 minutes before that, and then we go to a real shit house of a game against Tranmere.
I've got to say, is up there in my top 5 games I've ever attended at Portman Road.
Most frustrated?
Oh, easily. Oh my God, if we absolutely.
Am I right in saying John Aldridge's manager, Wayne Allison's playing up top, and Joe Murphy's in goal for?
Yeah, mate. Here we go. I've got it here. So have a look what we got here. Yeah, Joe Murphy. Yeah, you're right. One Alan Marn turns out for Tranmere. Yeah. We absolutely batter them. Venus missed the penalty. It's all going on. And that's definitely for sure 2 points, 2 big points dropped. Yeah, I don't think I've ever walked out of Portman Road many times, like I said before, more frustrating than after that night. My God.
Unbelievable. Off
Yeah.
we go to Norwich. And Dave, I believe that the hoodoo against Norwich actually starts after the 5-0 win in 98. If you look at the records, we have not been good against Norwich for basically 22 years
No,
now.
I mean there's an away win or so.
There's an
Obviously when
away win
Hay,
under Joe Royal and the
the only I think the
Geo,
only
isn't there?
the only sort of is the Danny Haynes factor for a season or two. There was that,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
I remember
But other than
Bellamy
that,
coming down the next season and scoring the
yeah, one
winner.
mugging off 1-0. Yeah, no, I think other than that, I think you're right. It was after that 5-0, there hasn't been they've been
Dave,
few and far between.
a second straight 0-0 draw. Scowcroft back, but we talk about this on the pod up to the current day about performances come first and then results come sometimes later. And there's a
Of
bit
course.
of a sense now that they've tidied up defensively.
Mm.
Some clean sheets are coming. They should be winning games, and it's probably going to come. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
And
yeah,
indeed,
yeah.
indeed it does. Four days later, James Scowcroft with the only goal against Wolves, who at the time really are the moneyed Championship team. Adiak in buy, 5 million signing. Steve Sedgley's
Yeah.
in there. 3 straight clean sheets. 4
Yeah, I think
unbeaten.
that's a significant point there, right there. Yeah, 3 straight clean sheets. Conceding 3 at after conceding 3 at Huddersfield, 2 at Blackburn. So yeah, that sort of stabilised things a bit there, didn't it?
Another home game. Here come Crewe again, Dave, but not before we exercise the ghost of Mark Rivers, because we're going to dominate them again, but he's going to score again to make it 1-1. But then immediately from the kickoff, David Johnson, he actually gets 2 goals in this game, and it had been 8 without a goal. So
forget that.
But it looked like, okay, the defence is now sorted. Scowcroft comes back. Go figure, Johnson starts scoring again when Scowcroft comes back.
Yeah.
You can see why the run started now, can't you?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, that's the core of the side right there.
So absolutely pivotal month, that one, November. Scowcroft returns. You got Mowbray's late equaliser starting the unbeaten run, and you go into December 5 unbeaten, looking for a 3rd straight win. However, 4th in the table now. And Steve Bruce and Marcus Stewart's Huddersfield up in 2nd at this point, Dave, coming up to the halfway mark of the season. So Man City top, Huddersfield 2nd, Charlton 3rd, Ipswich in 4th place and 5 points off automatic promotion at this point. Quite the drop-off, Dave, from the start of the season in August.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's perhaps, as you say, coincides with Scowcroft being out, Johnson's goals drying up. So there's the factor right there, really. Yeah.
Here comes December, and I believe this is the last time we won at Nottingham Forest. Am I right?
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
I remember Johnny Parr and Dean Gherkin throwing one in at the end in 15-16.
Yeah, we never did well at Forest. I mean, I think I look back. I think somewhere mid 90s, somewhere, throw it in there. There was the 1-0 win. I think Dazelle scores. There's a 1-0 win in there somewhere. But you have to go way back to the Robson era before. Yeah, our record at Forest is dreadful, actually.
Dave, I was at this game. This is like a Marcelo Bielsa game under Leeds. Absolutely dominated them and just kind of scraped in 1-0.
Yeah, scruffy old goal, wasn't it? Yeah,
Matt Holland gets the goal.
On the line, virtually. Yeah.
Little subplot there. Stern John's debut in English football there for Nottingham Forest in that game. 3rd straight win, Dave, and it's picking up now. Off we go to Palace, where we never bloody win.
Now, I was at this game. That was one of the rare away games I went to. Yeah, I was at this game. Yeah. Remembered from a mad own goal from
not the first one of the season either.
A mad own goal from Mowbray and an absolutely fucking thunder bastard finish from Johnson.
I love how he boots the ball into the crowd after he scores as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just gets the ball down and actually roars it in. Yeah, that'd be the other thing. I was sort of there. It was diagonal.
You can't see anything from that stand at Palace, can you? Because it's horrible, isn't it?
No, I wasn't in. I went with a home support. I went with So I was in with the sort of home. So it was good game. Yeah, gutted. It was one of those slow motion stuff. The Mowbray stretch and the ball, going over right. It's it's just one of those slow, things happening in slow motion.
Where this is going to end up, and it flies into the net. FA Cup for some reason this year, the third round has been brought forward.
I
Um,
don't know why.
to
I
the
tried to do a bit of research about that. I don't know why that was.
the other
Can't
thing I
remember.
was going to ask, if anyone
So
can let
2000
us know in the
Euros.
comments, both our red carded players played in the next game. I don't know if suspensions were they not a thing then? Because Magilton plays the next game after being sent off,
Were
and
they not?
so does
Were they not a thing?
Thetis after the Thetis actually gets sent off, doesn't he? We didn't mention that in the opening game of the season, does he? I can't remember. Or at the end of the Bolton game? I know he
Well,
had
yeah.
a red card. I should have mentioned
Yeah,
that.
there was one in there somewhere.
But
Yeah.
sadly, no longer with us. Dave died at a very young age.
Yeah,
Dean
Dean
Richards
Yeah, very sad.
gets the goal.
Yeah,
Great
great
player
player.
for
Great
Wolves
player.
and Southampton.
Spurs, Wolves.
And
Yeah,
you're a
yeah.
few months away, Dave, from your all-time favourite player taking over at Southampton and Glenn Hoddle becoming the manager there.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'd sort of had left England under controversial circumstances, and was gonna as you say, some months later take over at Southampton.
We're coming up to Christmas, Dave, and this is a West Brom team that's going to avoid relegation due to Ipswich beating Walsall on the last day of the season, and West Brom having a freak win, I think, at champions Charlton
Wow, really?
on the last day of the season. So West Brom, like Man City, a very different proposition to perhaps
Very
what
much
they
so.
became. Now, 2 red cards for the Baggies. And
Yes.
Dave, Neil Midgley, an 18-year-old striker, 18, 19 possibly, comes off
Out
the
of nowhere.
bench to score the third goal.
And scores, yeah, and I think may have made stats shouting 1 or 2 other appearances, and then basically disappeared. I think Cambridge and places like that just didn't work out. Yeah,
Wrong time, wrong place when.
Wrong time, wrong place.
Especially come February.
When you got at the time Scowcroft, Naylor, Johnson, and then who comes along in February? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We go off to Fulham, and this is one of those weird ones where it's Boxing Day. I've got one recollection of this game is David Johnson sticking one past the post because we stood on the terrace behind the goal at Craven Cottage. You know where the mixed stand is now at Fulham.
Yeah.
So a tight one there. Fulham haven't been fully Al-Fayeded and Keegan. Although no, Keegan must be the manager because he's going to take the England job fairly soon after,
I
isn't
think
he?
he must have been. Yeah.
He had both jobs
at
one point, didn't he? Managed both. That's the sort of thing Keegan would do, isn't it? But a 0-0 draw, and we come to the last game of the season. It's Ipswich 1, Stockport 0, and I've got another I'm a shithead story, Dave, because
you've got loads, mate. Go on.
One of our numbers. Do you remember laser pens were all the rage?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Stockport get a penalty, and we're sat in Churchman's with a laser pen. Okay.
Right.
And Tony Dinning misses the penalty. Is all I'll say.
Does he dazzle Tony Dinning? I think
I'm just saying there's
Well,
what a save though!
It was a double save, was it? It was a pretty fantastic double save from Righty. So had he blazed it over, I think there would have been more credence to your story. To be fair, Ben, or maybe you'd have dazzled it. Can you imagine? And he runs up and misses the ball completely. That would have been even funnier. But I think in due difference to Righty, it was a couple of unbelievable saves, wasn't it? Especially the second one.
Scowcroft gets the winner, Dave, and absolute golden period for Stockport here, probably the best of their existence. They're in an absolutely ruinous state now, but Gary Megson, Dave Jones there as well, players, Alan Armstrong, Brett Angel, players like that had come through Stockport and done really well when you consider the size club they are.
No, absolutely.
In Greater Manchester. So Dave, December ends, and so will this podcast at the moment, because we're going to
probably about right. We're going to
pick this up. So we're out of the FA Cup, unbeaten in the league for 10 games now, 3 wins, 2 draws in a row. Let's look at the table. It has Manchester City played 25, 51 points. Huddersfield is still in second spot. Remember, Charlton are now starting their 12-game winning streak, which will destroy most leagues.
Just looking at this, momentum is starting to build, though, and obviously we all know what happens. Spoiler alert: first week in February, signing wise, but momentum's starting to build. But you're right. Charlton 12 game. I don't even remember that 12 on the spin
in a row wins.
Yeah, he's gonna blow everyone apart, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we do start to show some consistency here. But Yeah, and then well, we'll get to March. March does
No,
for
we'll
us.
come on to
Spoiler
that
alert.
next time. But
Yeah,
Dave, the
yeah,
story of that end of that year is just George Burley just trying his absolute best to find his best. He knows the formation he wants to play. He knows the core of his team, but just trying to either get those three strikers and Scowcroft withdrawn on the pitch at the same time and fix that defence.
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, and which he did. As I said, those sort of three clean sheets after after the Blackburn and Huddersfield games. But then again, you concede and then you concede in two at Palace, so it wasn't quite right. But yeah, it was starting. It was all starting to take shape, and you've got momentum there going into the second half of the season.
So we are gonna come back. Obviously, we have time on our hands to record the next the next segment of this. So what the plan is that we will go up to the end of the regular season with myself and Dave, and then we will pass the baton for some rather epic playoff games to our colleagues. I believe Richard has organised the first Blue Monday
Yeah,
virtual
virtual
pub
pub
quiz.
quiz. I think there's virtual drinks at 6 o'clock. Did I see that?
Yeah, drinks at 6, quiz at 7. I think
Quiz at 7, drinks at 6, quiz at
is the
7, of course.
bit we've got
Yeah,
to
yeah, of
do.
course. Yeah, yeah.
So we hope you've enjoyed that little retrospective. We would now invite you at Blue Monday ITFC to give us your memories of the first half of the season. Don't worry about anything that's going to
We'll
happen
get to that.
into 2000. We'll get to that. Any questions as well. We've tried to avoid talking about the virus and the kind of matters surrounding that.
Yeah,
Dave, kind of a conscious decision. Football will be back, but we've all got to just kind of keep safe and look after
of
the
course, yeah.
vulnerable and the elderly people.
Look after the vulnerable, the elderly, and those those close to you. Yeah, it's strange times, Ben. Strange times. And
John
yeah,
Lennon
look,
song, "Strange Days." Nobody
strange
told me there'd be
days.
days like these.
Like these
Yeah.
But look, we'll get through this, and well, who knows when we'll see live football again? I mean, you got to think we're not going to see live football before the what was supposedly the start of the next season. I'll be very
I
surprised.
think it might be a televised pursuit for a little while before the
I
likes
think
of
so.
you and I are allowed
I
back
think
in.
so.
But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So get your questions in on 20 years ago, 1990, 2000, just that first half of the season. On behalf of everybody at the pod, we hope you all keep safe, and we say a big thank you if you're working for the NHS, if you're a
uh,
delivery driver, if you're working in a pharmacy, if you're working in
no,
any of the supermarkets. Thank you for keeping the country going and ensuring.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm not laughing at that. I'm just laughing at supermarkets. I mean, honestly, they're,
no,
yeah.
don't. Lifeblood of our bloody society at the moment,
Well,
Dave.
I know, mate. I know. Yeah, all very sad and unnecessary. But look, yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, no, keep safe, everybody, and we will see you again very soon. I should think, Ben.
Very soon. It doesn't feel right to say be careful what you wish for at the moment, does it, Dave?
I think just leave it go silently, and yeah,
Okay,
we'll be back. We'll be back.
we'll be
Thanks,
back.
everyone.
Bye now.